Okay, I think we're live. That's like what everybody says when they go live on Facebook. I think we're live. Everybody, loud good. How's it going? Nick Baldwin here with my trusty sidekick Tristan and the master of expireds. Tristan and I like to call them sexy spireds.
That's right.
Your coach and the co-founder of expiredplus.com, the best expired coaching program in the galaxy, Coach Borino. Thank you for being here. Was that actually like a...
Those were good, dude. I love that.
Borino has a laugh track.
We
Awesome.
have full production studio here at Borino Productions. What's up, lab coats? Good to see
man.
everybody.
Long time. We're super excited to have you. Borino's the best when it comes to expireds and FISBOs. They even named FISBOs after him, Fizborinos. That's what they call them. And Borino's also going to be at LCA Live again this year. He's the host of this. Yeah, he just said, "Hey guys, I'm going to be there," and we're like, "Cool, we'll just come by."
We'll hang out. Yeah. We had a really good time last year, man. It was a good combo of networking, learning, shenanigans, all that. It was really good.
There were no shenanigans at all. No.
What shenanigans? I don't know what you're talking about, Borino.
No, very.
There was no amazing
I have
party.
video, gentlemen. I have video.
It was like a Tony Robbins event. It was 74 straight hours, nonstop. No bathroom breaks. You had to
Nothing.
pee right there, standing there. You had to pee. Borino knows how Tony Robbins are. You just have to pee standing there. You can't.
Pretty
leave.
much, yeah. And quick power bars and stuff, yeah.
Because you walk out and Tony's like, "Hey, where you going?" "I gotta pee." "No, get back here."
True.
No being today.
But anyway, a lot of markets, Borino, are shifting. Right? People are scrambling. They're looking for shiny objects. They think these shiny objects are going to save their business. And so what we want to talk about is why expired listings are so important in a shifting market, and some tools and tactics that agents can use right now in their business to get more listings through expireds.
Good deal. I have something to show you. This is from my bank.
Is it money?
This is $8,620 cash.
Which reminds me, you owe me $8,620.
What a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
This is the average commission in my area. And the reason I have it here is for tangible demonstration of what's at stake. There's a lot of money to be made right now. This is just one commission. And you guys know, one listing can roll into 2, 3, 4 commissions. This is a perfect time to do it. So what Tristan and I were chatting about is, why don't I give you 5 practical things you guys can use right now? Literally, like when we finish, go out and test it and see what you think. How you can right now find people who want to sell, find people who need your help, and make a bunch of this. That's the idea.
I think I want to know about that.
I'll give it to you. I also have an invite for you, just real quick. If you're in town in DC in May, I'm doing the only workshop I'm teaching on listing presentation in 2 years. It's going to be
Wait, when is it? I want to go.
May 20th and 21st. I'm taking 20 people. We're going to lock ourselves in a classroom in the room, specially designed for that, with big screens and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to work on your listing presentation for 2 days straight. Confident communication.
I'm gonna send Sunshine down there and take that class from you.
I think it's a great class. I teach it once in a while because it's pretty elaborate for us to put it together.
Yeah.
But by the time we're done, you're going to have a rock solid listing presentation. Oh, Sunshine. Well, I mean, she was in a boot camp. It was a lot of fun.
She was in the boot camp, yeah.
Go check it out. Go to goborino.com/live. Take a look at it. There's a video that explains more about it.
Are you allowed to tell the price, Borino, or is that secret for when people
No,
go
it's
there?
not secret. It's $19.97. That includes the Presentation Plus 2.0 system where you get the slides, the books, the videos, and the whole enchilada. So,
And guys, if you haven't gone through one of Borino's boot camps or live events, or even joined his Expired Plus, I mean, it's legit stuff, right, Tristan? I mean, it really does work.
thanks, guys.
It's really good. I mean, I just rejoined part of my team over to what you normally do, Borino, with that book. Was that Expired University?
Oh,
Is
the
that what
Listing
it is?
University. Yeah.
The
You got the
Listing
book, right? You
University.
got the 5.0.
The 5.0 book. Yeah, we're going through that right now as we speak, because as the market's shifting, I think this is even more important. Actually, we're in the middle of a shift, 2 shifts, I always say. One is the market in some places, and the other one is this tech shift that we see that we're in the middle of. So, dude, go ahead and start, man. Let's get to the.
And that's
good
really
stuff.
why I put the 5.0 together. We just released it in January. It's a brand new, because
I
like
love
you were
it.
saying, the market is changing, the technology is changing, the tools are changing, it's evolving. How do you do it? How do you make it work?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give 5 practical things. One, start with a good mindset. And I'm not going to go Tony Robbins on you here. I'm not going to be the rah-rah thing, but really going, believing it's going to work. That has made the biggest difference more than anything else. Is just kind of, we started, my wife Hannah and I started this health program. We tried different things before. But what was cool about this one is a real person sends you a little text, says, just believe it's going to be all right. Believe it's going to work. And that made a big difference. Somebody real touching, reaching out and saying, you're going to be fine. It's going to be all right. This is going to be different. So we're going to use that, and I'm going to show you how you can utilize that with expireds as well. But really start with, I can make this work. Let me give you a simple evidence why this can work. We had a whole bunch of people go through the boot camp. I've trained thousands of people at this point, and some do well, some not so much. But recently we recorded a video with a lovely couple, and they went in and listed 12 of these suckers in 14 days. 12. So, and I'm not telling you this to impress you, but to show you how
What
much.
market was that, Borino? I want to.
What's that?
What market was that in?
Oh, they're in Minnesota in January
Love that.
when it was like minus 70 degrees. You know what I mean? Where nothing should be working. Everybody should just stop. And Krista and Luke went out and landed 12 listings in 14 days.
No, they're in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh, they're in Michigan. Sorry, my bad. No,
Yeah, they're 2 hours north of me. They're kicking ass.
much warmer weather, right?
Yeah, they took like 14 listings in 2 months through Expired Plus. It was crazy.
Yeah, they really crushed it. And they're not doing anything extraordinary, but what they're doing is they're following a system. So I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you that system. Now, of course,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to teach you in whatever 40 minutes. It's the whole thing, but I'll give you plenty to go out and act. So believe that it's going to be that. Expireds are being listed every day. If you just check your MLS, you see plenty of evidence. I'm going to go and really get some. That's number one. Number
Hold on
two,
1 second. Wait, before you go to number 2, I want to say something.
Yeah.
Because that reminds me of a live video that you did last week that I thought was really powerful. It's so simple and powerful, right? Like so many agents say, "Oh, I can't do that.
Oh,
you know, I can't possibly call people. That won't work in my market. I can't do it. They're going to hang up on me." And so then you're like, you said you had a conversation with your son where he's like, "Dad, I can't do that." And you're like, "Can you? Is it that you really can't, or is it that you don't want to? Because if you don't want to, that's fine. But don't say you can't, because you really can. Once you tell yourself that you don't want to and you're good with that, your whole mindset changes." I thought that was super powerful, right? Like, it's okay if you don't want to do it. Just don't say you can't, because that's not true.
yeah.
And so that goes back to number 1, having belief in yourself.
Yeah. And it's so important. And so many of us, you know, when I started this thing, I was like, it's the California, the new age, you know, the woo-woo thing. And I wanted to just get out there and get shit done. And it makes a big difference if your mindset is in the right place. It's like you're saying, Nick, it's the same thing. It shifts ownership, because if you say, I can't, what you're saying is it's impossible.
Right.
The moment you start saying, I don't want to, you own it. It's your decision. That kind of shifts perspective. So I have people tell me, I can't call people. I can't call people. I'm like, you can. You don't want to, which is fine.
Borino?
Right.
Yes, sir.
You brought in health about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
How much of that mindset has actually to do with your health? You know, your body and mind being in unison.
The reason we had to make some changes, Hannah and my wife and I, is because I need to work at 100% optimal rate, just like you guys. You go out there presenting, prospecting, doing Nick and Tristan, you're running lab codes, you're teaching people, you're coaching, you're traveling. This machine will start breaking down at a certain point. And you're going to get outperformed by other agents, not because they're better agents, not because they're better skilled. They have more stamina, more energy. They will outrun you. So that's the reason I started to make these changes. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a health presentation, but understand that your mind, your body, your soul, and your skills are all connected. And if one part is missing, and now you have a car on 3 wheels, it just becomes a lot more challenging, which is what I am. I can still push because I have a lot of discipline. But there are days where it's become more challenging because I was fat. I was not healthy. And I had to make these changes if I wanted to sustain and grow my business, serve you guys, and still have fun in life. Because I want to stick around for a while. I'm having fun doing this. So that's why we started making these changes, and we already see some results, and it's really good. So
makes sense, man.
But that's for another presentation another time. But just be aware, it's hugely important. You think clearly, you have more energy, and you just stay with it longer because you have the juice to do that. So you guys done expired, both of you, right, before?
Yep.
What have you found to be the biggest obstacle? Where do you usually get stuck? Why is it not like an integrated part of your lead generation continuously? What's the biggest problem?
I think for me, the biggest challenge was always that it's a process that takes a longer time than you think, right? It's not like, for us, our specialty was always online lead generation. So you either say yes or no, and then you move on to the good ones, right? You leave the other ones to nurture automatically or to go back to them. We didn't really have a process or a system in place to do that with expireds. So we always found that nurturing part to be more difficult to put into place because we didn't know what we needed to do.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually until I started talking to you that I was like, oh, shit, we can do this. And I looked at the book and I looked at what you had to offer. I'm like, all right, I can bring this over here and then I can automate this part. And that's when we started looking at it a little differently.
Yeah, and that really was one of the biggest changes in the 5.0 version, because now with the most advanced tools, human and AI, you can automate a lot of this, which we didn't have.
Well, I was having a call this morning with an agent of mine that I'm mentoring in New Jersey, and she just got her license and joined the brokerage like a month ago, and literally got her first listing in her first month. And you know how she got it? She called expireds.
Wow. Yeah.
She didn't know what to say. And she got her first listing, and she has another one coming on from a FSBO. And so what I said to her was, first of all, that's fantastic. Second, where most agents fail when it comes to expireds is if it's not one and done, they forget about it. And so when you are the few, like Tristan and myself, who nurture these people, the reason it comes to fruition is because they start to realize these people who are doing that aren't one and dones, and they are actually doing their due diligence and forming a relationship and building trust. Yeah. And she's like, I need to have a system for that, so I'm going to help her do that. And so that's where it really started to pay off.
Which is, what we're going to work on today. The cool thing about working leads like FSBOs and expireds, I call them HPL, high probability leads. And the reason they're so good, especially if you want more listings quickly, or you're in a slump, or you're a newer agent starting out, if you want to ramp it up rapidly, is you're working with people who are fairly easy to identify. Like, it will take you a while to go through the neighborhood farming or door knocking or cold calling or even running ads. But now you can go on MLS and literally within minutes you can have potential leads. Same with FSBOs. You can go on Zillow and Craigslist and a bunch of other places, and you can start amassing data of leads that you can work with. That's what makes them cool. And also, because you're working with an expired listing, that's somebody through action demonstrated that they want to do something. So they're already in the process. They're not thinking about it down the road, a year from now, 2 years from now. They already tried it once. And statistically, you already know, not everybody, but a big chunk of those will do it again. That's data. So if you look at the data, those are fantastic leads. Now, again, like you said, many agents screw this up. Either wrong approach, they piss people off, that happens frequently, or they start calling, they don't get anybody, so they feel like it's not working in my area, or they give up too soon. I'll give you a secret about expireds. Here's what happens with most expireds. I want to make sure you guys can see this. So let's just assume that these are 10 expireds potential leads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now it's going to be slightly different. The ratios will be different, but the principle is the same in every market. So you're going to have 10 potential leads. Out of these, let's say 3, this would be my market, never sell, never try, never do anything. Never go back. They tried once, tested the market. You had people like that. They give up. Then you're going to have 2, they were released immediately with the same agent. Go right back. Sometimes stupid move, but that's what happens. Then you're going to have this group where nothing's going to happen for a while. There'll be like a dead time. And then they relist again. Yeah. And this can be a few days, this can be a few weeks, sometimes a few months, even longer. So you have these three groups. Now, here's an interesting insight. When you start your relationship, your communication with them, and I'll show you in just a moment how to do that, what are the best channels to approach them, almost all of these will tell you no. There is no magic shortcut or a sweet script where they suddenly say, thank you, you called me. We couldn't wait for us to talk to you. Please come out and help us sell our house.
Thank God you called.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't, they all tell you no. Every single one of them. I don't think I've ever had an expired who says, yeah, we want to sell. Can we get together? You know what I mean? So it doesn't happen. So don't get discouraged by it. It's part of the process. Now, here is why. It has to do with human psychology. Put yourself in the expired's position. They finally decide to move. That alone was a big fight. Usually the wife is the one that drives it. Somebody wants to move. They go through it. They hire an agent. They clean up the house. They repair the whole thing. Buyers wander through it, the whole shebang for 4, 5, 6 months. Their expectations are high. They tell everybody at work. They share with the neighbors. Oh, we're moving. We're selling. They pick a house down in Florida. They're all jazzed about it. And then nothing. Usually the agent disappears towards the end because they couldn't get the price reduction. And then a whole hell breaks loose. The phone rings off the hook. People hounding them. So of course they're disappointed. Of course they're frustrated. Of course they're distrustful. It's an natural emotional reaction because they're under a lot of pressure and confusion. They don't know what the hell to do, who to trust, or where to turn. So their natural, immediate reaction, just like when you walk into the store and you say, no, thank you, I'm just looking. 15 minutes later, American Express is out. That's their natural response. It's normal. So the idea is to have a system in place to nurture them through this process and decipher which group. Now, this will be easy to identify. They just go right back on the market. So you're going to take those out of the system. But how do you distinguish between these two? At first, you can't. So the basic approach, the basic assumption at the beginning, until you know otherwise, is they want to sell, they're motivated, and at some point they will list with their best agent. Best agent meaning best criteria they have, who they want to go with. Yes, as you communicate with them, some will be more motivated than others. Some will have more urgency than others. Some will be more realistic than others. But don't assume. We had this guy in the military. I served in Czechoslovakian military where conscription, you hit 18, you go and serve the motherland. And it was a shitty experience. It was tough and difficult and hard, and we hated it, as you're supposed to. But we had this guy. We had a Russian sergeant who trained us. We were in this place called Olimov Las, which is on the border of Russia and Slovakia. And we spent 30 days there. And it was hell, but one thing that stuck with me that I learned from this guy, he says, Borja, you never assume. Assumption, mother of all fuck-ups. Never assume. And it's kind of true. Every time I look at the mistakes I've made or when I made the wrong call, it wasn't based on data. It was based on assumptions. And that served me well with this, is until you know, don't assume. And if you want to assume positive, that they want to sell, they want to work with you, they are motivated. They will serve you much better than being all negative. Make sense?
Totally.
100%, buddy.
All right, so you got this group. So now what do we do? What are the practical things you can do with these people? If you know, if you just go historically, there will be some who will go back on the market. The second tip, other than the believe, have the right mindset, is have the right data. Have a good data. It is important. It is important for several reasons. Having a good source other than just the MLS will make you more efficient, faster. It will open more communication opportunities, and you will be able to reach more people rapidly. There's a whole bunch of them out there. Vulcan is good. Espresso is good. Landvoice, Red Eggs. There's a whole bunch. What I would suggest, try them, see which one works best for you, because different markets tend to report different results based on your MLS and geographic area and all that, but have a good data. That's important. All right. Step 3 is you're going to need a CMS, a solid CMS. Now, you can go fancy. There's all kinds of ways to do this. I'm going to give you the simple solution, the Borino, inexpensive, on the budget, but still works really well solution. House these in one contact management system. Pick one that you like. Use it. What you want is all this data will be fed into one central point of communication. And we'll get into the communication and reaching them first. But you're going to need these tools set up first because you want to have a campaign there. Yeah, there will be actually 2. There'll be LA campaign and PL campaign in your contact management system. AL and PL stands for actual leads and potential leads. They're both good. They're both can be converted into listings. But there are two main differences. You need to know these two because they will impact your marketing, call to action, and how these leads will be treated. The difference, number one, is actual leads you had conversation with. Mm-hmm. So let's say you get an expired on the phone, you chat with them, and they say, Nick, we need about 30 days. There are some repairs we want to get done. My wife is going to visit her family. Why don't you get back to us in about 30 days? And then we'll talk. That becomes an actual lead, and it goes into a sequence, a follow-up sequence, nurturing. Potential lead is an expired listing to whom you reach out but have no conversation. You don't know how motivated they are, what is their situation. So we assume they want to sell, they tried once, there's a good probability they will try again. You nurture that. It's a one-way communication. So this is conversation, this is no conversation. This is building a relationship and know at least a little bit about their situation, this is nothing. So we assume here. Call to action here is for a listing appointment, either now or down the road. That's your basic CTA here. And your marketing feeds that. Always presented with a benefit. The reason we should get together is because you benefit to you. Okay? With the potential lead, because we don't know, their call to action is let's talk. Give me a quick call, let's chat. Because benefit to them. So here you initiate the conversation. The whole purpose of these campaigns that you're going to run, is to have a conversation or continue the conversation. That's the objective. Because the way you escalate it, first contact, conversation, relationship, qualifying, appointment listing. It always happens in these steps. It can be very compressed. I've had that happen in 60 minutes, where I walk into the expired listing, we had a little chat, they seem really motivated. You know how you sometimes hit it off with people? Like you really click? It can happen. Now, if it doesn't happen, you're not breaking it, it's not wrong, it takes more time. So you're gonna have in your CMS, these two campaigns running. And yes, you can get fancy, you can get a third party that can do some of the nurturing for you. Where the magic happens is, and we're gonna get into channels in just a second, is during the conversations. That is the most powerful way of building the trust and relationship. Now, the most important element when it comes to not just expireds, but overall converting leads is in 3 letters. Every listing you ever taken, if you look back, how many listings do you project you're gonna take, Tristan, this year?
We should take about 75.
About 75. What about you, Nick? You and your team, what do you expect?
We're probably gonna take about 42.
About 42. So good year for both of you. Every single one of those listings is because of these 3 things. L stands for like, T stands for trust, and R stands for respect. Every client who comes to you and says, yes, I'm ready to do business with you, is because they like you, they trust you, and they respect you. And it's like a stool. It has to have these 3 legs in place in order for it to work. They must like you. That means they must feel in sync with you. They feel connection with you. That's the foundation of a relationship. Yeah. Trust you means they know that you have their best interest at heart. Yes, you want to make a commission, of course. That's how you feed the family. That's how you pay the bills. But it's their interest first. That's the trust part. And respect means you're the leader. So if you say $495, $495. If you say good offer, they consider it as a good offer. You're the authority there. So these 3 must be in place, LTR. Very, very, very important. Not just with expired, but in general, when you're approaching and communicating with people, focus on those. All right. So you believe you got the right data, you have your CMS set up. This is where we're going to feed those leads. You're going to have some sequence that will either continue a conversation or start the conversation, because you can't really list a property over email. I know it's been done, but normally it's not possible. Now let's talk about what do we do now? How do we approach these people? The best method is called multi-channel approach, MCA. In the past, it used to be call. As a matter of fact, when I learned this stuff, I was homeless, broke, and my broker, Richard, who was the nicest guy in the world, sent me to a little workshop. It was one of those real estate seminars. And the seminar was, it was okay, but it was meeting this guy, Art, who said, dude, don't just call, don't just prospect willy-nilly, go after people who are already in the process. He introduced me to expired listings. And he was like in the cartoon, you know, the big light bulb just bing, went on. So I'm back and I started doing it. There was a time where calling was enough. Today we live in a very complex, noisy marketing world where There's just too much going on, and having one channel is not enough. So in order for this to work, you need to deploy multi-channel approach. Call first if you can. Most of the time, getting a listing appointment is too far, too much, too soon. It would be like you go on a first date. You remember your first date with Ann, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Coffee? Nice conversation, right?
And it wasn't coffee, but it was a dinner, and we went to the city, and I guess it turned out good. We got married, but
eventually.
We hung out a few times before our first date, so it wasn't totally awkward. But that was the first official date.
In many ways, real estate is kind of like dating. And that first call is nothing but just a first reach, first touch. Now imagine on the first date, you would say, would you like to marry me? Most of the time, the girl would probably get up and run very, very fast.
I actually did ask Ann to marry me on our first date, but that's besides the point. No, Tristan, we had something in our presentation where it's a picture of a table, and we ask, what does this look like? And then we go, it's one night stand. Get it? Real estate is not a one night stand.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So, and it's the same thing here. You want to gently, genuinely start building that connection. Now, I'm not saying it should take months or years, but just understand that it's a process. And at the beginning, to them, you're just a stranger on the phone. They have no reason to like you, no reason to trust you, no reason to any. You're just a salesperson who wants a commission for all they care. Now, we know differently. You need to be genuinely willing to help, of course, but they don't know that yet. So the purpose of the call is, number one, you want to find out if they relisted. That's the number one objective. Anything they say other than, yes, we have, that's, of course, good luck, thank you. Anything that follows that, it's game on. It is because even if all of these will tell you no, you already know statistically some will relist. So if you can have a conversation, it's great. And I like to start it with a pattern interrupt. I just say, I'm not the first one calling about your house, am I? It's kind of crazy. All these people calling out of nowhere. I emphasize, I understand their position. So I relieve some of that tension. And then I get into a conversation. So if they say we haven't relisted, I ask a few simple questions. Then my second objective of that phone call is to see if I can stop by real quick. Because you guys already know that even with the latest tools we have, and God, thank God we have so many awesome tools. This is a great time to be in real estate. It's still a people business. Even you, like you posted recently, like I really appreciated how you said it's about conversations. And when you need to call, you call. Because sometimes that still is the best way to connect, to communicate, to have a conversation. And I really appreciated that. So
I said,
didn't you post something like that?
Oh yeah, I did say that. That sounded pretty good, actually.
So have a little convo with them. Little conversation, short, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And then say, why don't I swing by just to introduce myself, say hello. I know you're probably not ready to realist right away, like you mentioned. That's fine. I'm just going to drop out some info because who knows? Sometimes plans change and you may want to give it another try. That's all you want. You want to take them in baby steps. Rather than leaping, let's get married, I'll just swing by just for a couple of minutes to say hello. All right? So that's the conversation on the phone. Now, you will reach, the impact of the phone has diminished. We already have apps now that block calls from people who don't know. But you can still reach, and again, these numbers will be different here, between 10 and 20% of people. So don't be surprised if you go through a lot of numbers, and if you have a dialer, that will make your calling more efficient. You're not going to reach everybody. Small percentage. Those you do, have a conversation, but those that don't, we're going to deploy a multi-channel approach. That means the sequence is this. You call if you can, you text if you can, you email if you can, preferably a video email, and then you visit. And you do those as soon as possible, because remember, the assumption is, unless I know otherwise, they're ready to list, they're motivated, they're looking for an agent. So you do those 4 things. Now, this is easy if you have 2 or 3 expireds a day. It becomes a little more complex if you start having 15, 20, which I think we're headed towards that, in some markets at least. So it's good to have good tools, and it's good to have somebody who can help you with a lot of this. Having staff, virtual assistant or real assistant, who can do a lot of this for you, like sending text and sending emails, you can delegate all that. So you do the multi-channel approach. The objective there is to see them in person as soon as possible, because you may have competition on the phone, a lot of other agents trying to call. Very few will take the time to go there in person. As a matter of fact, very often you're going to hear a comment, no, you're the only one. Because I would ask them, anybody else stop by? And they'll say, no, you're the only one, which is good.
Speaking of stopping by,
yeah,
I want to bring this up because I don't know if he's still watching, but Michael Perna, mega agent in my market, I just saw that he started watching us. He started out with expireds, and he would, if he came across a do not call, he would physically go to the house, and he had a very strategic way. He would bring the listing from the MLS with him on a clipboard. Before he got there, he would highlight certain things on that listing that would show the seller of that home why he feels the house didn't sell, right? And so he would have this, like, hey, I've got your listing. I just want to show you a few things of why I think it didn't sell. And it catches their attention, right? Because he's done his homework. He's like, the price, he'll talk about that. The description, he'll talk about that. The beds, baths, anything he felt that may have not been accurate or in their best intentions, he would point that out. And now it's effective because a good number of homeowners don't even look at their listing online, right? They don't even know what their pictures look like. They don't even know what the description looks like. Now, some of them do, but if you point out these inaccuracies, that can really work in your favor.
It can. I am not a huge fan, especially at the beginning, because I don't know what the relationship is between the seller and the agent.
That's true too, but
it's a good approach, and I recommend it. Put together an entire package, not just the MLS. That's a good conversation starter. That's actually really good, especially if they have shitty pictures. That really helps. Like one of the things I would do is, man, you got a nice house. I didn't expect that. Look at the picture here. That doesn't do you justice. Right. So yeah, that's a good idea. Now the Expire Plus comes with the whole package that you put together, because if they're not home or you want to leave something behind to help them remember you, that's a good piece to have. So now you're there, you have a quick conversation. If they give you the permission, if the conversation goes well, go inside, preview the property. And I usually would say something like, I know it's kind of odd, a stranger shows up at your house, but if you'd like me to, I can give you some pointers what might have gone wrong. So down the road, you decide to try it again, you won't make the same mistake twice. Would you give me a quick tour, 5 minutes? And very often they would say, yeah, sure, come on in. And I would say, I know beds are not made if your house is anything like mine. I have 2 kids, so I can relate. And they usually laugh. I break the barrier and I get in. Once you're in, it's on. That's usually a very strong IOI, indicator of interest. That's a good sign. All right. So you believe, you got the data, you got the CMS set up. You started the process with a multi-channel approach where you call them, if no answer, you text them, you send them an email, and you visit them. Then the final step is, and this is where the conversions will happen in follow-up. That's why this is so important to have set up here, because almost every single listing I've ever taken, every single expired, and they saved my butt. They got me from homeless in 10 months to I bought my first condo, got my Mercedes. It was because expired was the #1 source. Follow-up. It took me 5 to 15 contacts. This is a long game. I know I said it's a quick way to get listings. It is quicker than many other methods. There are about 48, 49 ways you can generate listings. But be prepared that it will take you between 5 and 15 touches in most cases before the seller says, you know what, we see your name all over the place. Come on down, let's talk. And again, you're deploying all this. You text them once in a while, send a video once in a while.
Borino, I have a question there.
Yes, sir.
With that part, because we've been doing expireds for a long time, so a lot of the reasons that we were failing before were because we, like I told you before, we weren't nurturing them, we weren't following up correctly.
Yeah.
But part of that was we weren't reading them correctly. So when they would tell us, look, we're going to use the same agent, or why we're just going to leave it off market for a while. If you have a buyer, just bring them by, right? You hear that a lot, at least in our market. So tell me, what are some of the scripts you can use so that the audience can hear? Say, well, if somebody comes in and says, well, look, we're gonna just try to keep it off market. We don't really want to sign with one agent. We're going to see how that goes. What would your response be, or what would your question be to that?
I would start with a simple question like, totally understand that. I would be frustrated and just kind of, if I don't have to deal with it, I wouldn't deal with it. So I totally appreciate it. Align with them first. I would never argue, never question it, just align. Make them feel safe.
Okay. Say, oh, that's okay, good. I like that. That's what we do.
So that's number one. Then the second question I would ask, but let me ask you hypothetically, somebody walks in tomorrow, suitcase full of cash. They fall in love with your house, just like you did the first time when you bought it. Remember? Important NLP, shifting their state. Oh yeah, I remember. That was kind of, man. They walk in, they fall in love with it, and they offer you a good price for it. What would you do? Would you consider it? Anything other than a radical no, I know I have something I get to work with.
Got it.
Okay, so that's step one. And then step two is, great, so where do you guys want to go? They buy the house, then what? I want to future pace them. What is the goal? What is what I ultimately want to get to? Is their main reason why they need to sell? What is the problem? Because you guys already know, you're masters at this. The decision that triggers the move is the emotion. It is not about a bigger house. It is not about a different neighborhood. It is not about a longer driveway or a 3-car garage. It's a construct, a representation of that. And I need to know what that is, that's number one, and I need to know the intensity of it. Because the intensity will give me motivation. So I would explore Florida, fantastic. My daughter lives there. I want to be close to the family. It's a job transfer. Whatever they give me, I start working with. And then, like you, Tristan said, if I feel like there is a desire, they're just fed up with the situation, I would ask, so what's holding you back really? If we can get a buyer quickly, if we can get a good price, what do you feel is the obstacle? Or I would reverse it. If they give me a lot of, we don't know this, that, I'm going to say, why not just stay where you are? It seems like you have a beautiful house.
Yeah.
You've enjoyed it for many years. Why not just stay? And what I'm looking for is not just the words, but again, the emotion behind it, the reaction.
Yeah, so that's really good that you say that, dude, because I think everything goes back to that. We're trying to rekindle that emotion.
Yeah.
So that we're giving them hope that this can actually still be done if they're really interested. And that's
there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can say things like, well, it's interesting. The one on Oak Street around the corner sold a couple of weeks ago. Not as nice as yours. I'm curious why yours hasn't. And I would go, let me swing by real quick. And just 5 minutes, not there to pressure you or bamboozle you into listing the house. Just give you some honest answers that I think you will find helpful.
Dude, that's so good, because the next thing that they usually say is, once we get down the line a little bit on that conversation, they say, well, why do you think our home didn't sell? When they say that, I'm like, I'm there.
Hallelujah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent.
Finally.
That's the equivalent of, I'm so glad you called.
Yeah, pretty much. But you have to help them see, very often how they're reacting is just a natural reaction to a salesperson call. They're defensive. They're kind of cool, aloof. They have that protection wall up. So when they tell me things like, well, if you have a buyer, bring them by. That's an indicator of interest. I'll take that.
For sure.
Then I can segue. I totally would. Would you like me to accompany them, or would you like me to just send them your way? That throws them off completely, which is I want. It's a scramble.
Right. It's like, whoa.
And whatever they answer,
like
I don't really care. I'm like, cool. Well, obviously, I need to take a look at it first. I can't just send willy-nilly. That wouldn't make sense. Can you give me a 5-minute tour that's a time constraint tomorrow? I'll take a quick look, take a picture or two, and I'll let my buyers know. Would it be cool?
You want to know what's interesting? So, we're using Expired Plus, obviously, and once you take the course, you have the materials forever, which is great, and they're fully customizable. So we're using a lot of Borino stuff, but then we're incorporating one really integral part from of our own. And Tristan, you have YLobo too, and the seller report from YLobo is so amazing, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to enter the information on the home, right? Number of beds, baths, approximate value, location, square footage. You enter that into the YLobo system, and then it prints out this sheet that tells you how many people in your database are looking for that type of house right now. And so many agents call and say, I might have a buyer for your house. That is the oldest, that's like the equivalent of the dog ate my homework when you're in,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But when you actually show them, no, really look. I mean, social proof,
Yes.
right? If you can produce something that shows them people in your database looking for a house like that on a regular basis, it's a huge leverage.
That is huge. Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, I had it really simple. I would just bring like a blurred out list of all my potential
Well, that's
buyers.
what I do. It's blurred out. They don't obviously get the list.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. And I would tell them
That's
maybe
a
buy right
pattern
here on the
interrupt.
list. I don't know. Yeah, that's brilliant. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. So, Borino, going back to the scripting, I'm just going back to the ones that I remember we get the most of. That's number one. The other one is in our area is congested with real estate agents, Los Angeles, Ventura County. And in Malibu, it's not big. The population is like 10,000. That's it. Only 28 homes sell a month, which is not a lot. But the average price point is 3.2 million. So, it's not bad. And when we're calling and somebody says, well, look, my home expired, a lot of agents are calling. But look, I already know like 4 or 5 agents. I don't know. I'm just gonna field those 4 and 5 agents and just see what they've got, and then we'll just do it like that. What would a response be to that? Because we haven't come up with a solid response to that I feel comfortable with.
I would
This is
acknowledge
for
it,
me.
but here's the thing. Very often you get these, well, we know a bunch of good agents already. Well, pay attention to their actions. They hired the wrong agent. Shit didn't get done. The property didn't get sold. So they may know agents, but nobody got the job done. So first in my mind, I'm thinking I'm better than these guys because my listings sell. I don't have expired listings. Now I can tell them that, but it's in my attitude. That's number one. Number two, rather than having a clever response, like they call it rebuttal. I hate that word. Because it seems like, somebody throws a ball and just going to smack it right back at them. You're going to get more resistance. So I would take a different approach. I would say, Tristan, totally understand. I mean, everybody knows at least one agent. Where did you guys want to go? See what I did there?
Yeah.
I acknowledged it, but rather than fighting you and pushing you, which is what you would expect, because that's what all the other agents do is rebuttal, I would just say, yeah, good for you. Where do you guys want to go? How soon? And I go, take over the conversation again into my questioning, into my line, into my sequence, which is—
You redirected their energy. I love that.
Totally redirects. And it turns a pitch into a conversation, because if I do this right, and a lot of it happens on a nonverbal level, which I'm in a good mood, I'm passionate, I'm smiling, I'm having a good time, enjoying talking with you, I would say, good, you guys want to go to Florida? Wow, interesting. Leaving Malibu for Florida, that's kind of interesting. Usually it's the other way around. What brings you to Florida? And I just bring you right into it, because your mind, the way you're wired, if I start asking you about Florida, you cannot help but lock on that. I'm going to start redirecting your thoughts. Now, you may choose not to give me all the details, but you cannot help but think about it. It's just like when I throw a question at you, what color is your car? Yeah, you may choose not to answer, but for a split second, which is all I needed, I redirected your thoughts.
Got it.
And once you got their mind locked on it, right, even after the conversation, that's what they're going to be thinking about.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'm starting associating, because like we talked about it earlier, it's about emotions. And if I understand first, the emotion is fear, resentment, maybe anger and confusion, that's what I need to work with. First, I need to shift the emotions before I can influence them.
Yep, I agree.
And the best way to do that is I would ask these questions. Where would you like to go? I don't ignore the objection. I just choose not to fight it or solve it. Make sense?
Okay, totally, man.
It's a very powerful way of doing it. It works really well if you're comfortable with it. Now, you may hear shit like, no, we're definitely going with Rudy down the street. Awesome, good for you. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to drop off some info just to say hi. You never know. Maybe the things will really work out. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't.
Okay, I like that, dude. All right,
I'm not stuck on the outcome of that conversation, because I have a process. If they haven't relisted, I assume they want to sell, unless they really tell me something significant on the phone, like, my spouse died or the job transfer didn't go through, something that would impact the move.
Right.
I would still go and visit. And I would say, hey, I talked to you yesterday. I enjoyed our conversation. And I would just go right back. I would suck them back into the conversation.
Borino, how do you maintain that positive mindset? Because for those of you who've tried expireds for a very, very long time, you know how tough it can get. It beats you down. So what are some tips you can give to some agents that are either starting off or just worn out on calling expireds to just maintain a positive attitude on this?
That is a good question. This business can beat you up, no question about it. You have to have a thick skin. It can be hard. And I hate when I hear this. Oh, you got to be passionate about what you do. I'm like, motherfucker, you never called people for 3 hours straight and nobody answered. They hang up on you. They call you names. There's nothing to be passionate about. It's so true. Bullshit. It's one of those motivational, rah, everybody jump up and down. Nonsense. You cannot be passionate every day about the stuff you have to do to succeed. That's impossible. That would be shooting heroin every day. That's just not possible. That's just not possible.
100%.
Hey, one of my favorite quotes, success is boring.
Yes. Calling people is boring. Being rejected is tough. Learning new skills
unless you're Tristan and you love it.
Well, I love calling, but I think dealing with certain people, I think success is boring. Success is tough, but I think success can also be super draining, Borino, and that's what I was getting at. How do you deal with maintaining that positive outlook, that consistency on coming back with that same passion?
Well, that's what I was gonna share. That be ready that there'll be days it's gonna suck. Be ready that there'll be days it's gonna be hard. Be ready that there'll be days it's not gonna work. Be ready that right before you're ready to close the deal, it's gonna fall apart. They will list with somebody else. Buyers will back out. The property will not appraise. It's just part of life. So, and I learned this over and over, first in the military, then through working with many of you guys, is you got to pick your heart. And what I mean by that is, I was homeless, sleeping in a car in Pico Rivera, California, on Rosemead Boulevard behind a liquor store. That was hard. Not having enough money, other than a bean burrito at Taco Bell for 49 cents special, was hard. Starting your real estate business is hard. Rejection is hard. Working expireds is hard. Being a successful entrepreneur like you guys are is hard. Being successful is hard. Making $1 million a year is hard. Being good real estate agent is hard. You got to pick your heart. Because I promise you guys, no matter what you decide to do in life, run the business on your own or sit in a cubicle 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, it's going to suck at times. It's going to be hard at times. And yes, it's going to be exhilarating at times. And it's going to be fun at times. So what I want you to get fired up about is not making phone calls. That's ludicrous. That's not possible. I'll give you some techniques in a moment, how to make it bearable so you don't feel like you need to take a shower, brush your teeth, and to take 3 double shots of scotch. But what you need to be passionate about and excited about
I like that idea.
is you're doing something significant, the way you touch people, the way you impact their life. Be passionate about that. You're building your independence where you decide how much money you want to make, how successful you want to be, the hours you work. You have a total freedom. Be passionate about that. You're creating a lifestyle for your family, your kids. Like my kids are my biggest drive right now. To provide for them, for my wife, I'm super passionate about that. So it puts things in perspective because not only can you make a boatload of cash, you can start investing, you can start thinking long-term, building a business that's sustainable, that flourishes, where you impact huge number of people directly and indirectly, where the trade-off is freedom, growth, independence. That's huge. That's what you can be passionate about. The future that you can have, where if you do this right, you're going to make so much money and invest well. In few years, you can say, you know what, I can retire if I want to. If I want to work, I can, but I don't have to. Or if you're grinding somewhere 9 to 5 in an office cubicle for 5 days a week, where are you going to be 20 years from now? Save a little bit for 401k and save up some time for vacation, but that's about it. And then you're 65, 70, your body starts falling apart. Is that the time to enjoy life? Fuck that. I don't want that. I want it now. And you have the opportunity to do it now. You have the opportunity to prove to yourself that you're tough. Yes, it requires toughness. Going to the gym is hard, but I have to do it. Otherwise, by 70, I'll be dead. I don't want that. It's hard. It's tough, but it's also incredible. it's also amazing what you can do. What you guys do, being a real estate agent this day and age, most people cannot do. I mean, shit, we have what, 80% failure rate anyway. Even people who try fail most of the time. So if you've been in business more than 2 years, you're already doing something right. Be passionate about that. Be excited about that. This is a phenomenal opportunity. Yeah? So now, how do you make it through those tough days where you need to be on the phone for 3 hours and it's tough? I'll give you a few things that help me. Set up your environment, number one. Like, I have a candle burning. I usually play music when I work. I have an environment that's conducive to feel good. I have pictures of things I want, picture of my family. You can see my family. I don't know how much of that you can see here. But here are the people that matter to me as a constant reminder. It's not just about me and feeling good and being all happy all the time. No, there'll be days we're going to feel shitty, but job needs to be.
You got your guitar over there?
Yeah, I got my guitar, which I sometimes, fuck around with. It's all part of it. So that's one, set up a good environment. Step two, before every time it's game time, and trust me, when on the phone it's game time, because a lot of this is on the line if you do it right. I put myself in a state, and I learned a lot of it from Tony Robbins. As you guys, I know you're students. Tristan, you did the firewalk recently, right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. A few times.
So I put myself in a state every time I do a webinar. You notice I'm not just sitting here on a chair going, yeah, this is really interesting, and you're going to like this.
Yeah.
I have to have the energy. This is just like you making calls. So I use my body. I have this set of these simple exercises that get me all juiced up. 3, I remind myself, what is my big why? It is not just about an appointment or whatever. It is something I built for me and the future generation. And each of these phone calls is a step on that journey. Each of these phone calls contributes directly or indirectly to that legacy that I want to leave, to the building of something bigger than just making a quick transaction. Next thing I'm going to give you, and this is from a practical standpoint. You said your average price is what, about $3 million?
Well, in Malibu. So I don't only work in Malibu, but Malibu's 3.2.
Okay, so like in my area, average commission is $8,600. All right?
Okay.
So now, $8,600, you need to get, I'm just using my numbers again, I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but it will illustrate my point.
Yep.
You need to get 10 expired leads to convert one into a listing on average. So in this system, in my area, I would have to get 10 good expired leads that I actually talk to and work with to convert one into a listing. I need to make 10 dials to get one lead, 10 conversations. So now I know that each call, correct me if my math is wrong, is worth $86. Now, do your numbers, figure it out backwards, listing, appointment, lead, dial, conversation. What is it worth to you? Each one is worth some money. Look at it from that perspective. Every dial is worth a few dollars. That's how you earn them. You got to go through them. Make sense?
100%, dude. I love that. Honestly, out of the 4 things you just said, I love the why part. I think if you have a routine where that's an affirmation that you've created, right, or an incantation, whatever you want to call them, and you say, hey, this is, so you go through it and say, by the way, I'm just coming up with this because I hadn't done this before, Borino. So it would be like, hey, today I'm making these calls because 5 years from now, I'm going to do this and this. I'm going to have this and this for my family, for this. Dude, you're just reiterating your why and just making it more visual. I love that. I had never done that, but I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell my team to do that. That was key.
That's good. And
I love it.
The idea is, if you can do these little calls here, what else can you do? It's very empowering, and it works the other way around. If you give up on yourself, if you let yourself get derailed just by somebody who's rude or anything, you're going to start going backwards because there is no standing still. Either you're improving and growing or you're sliding back. Good stuff?
I love it. Good stuff, man.
Helpful?
All right, so you're going to be in
good stuff,
DC?
man.
Thank you.
You're going to be in DC on May 20th? Is that what it was?
May 20th, 21st, we are doing a listing presentation live workshop, hands-on stuff, where we're going to work with folks, 20 agents, preparation, pre-listing process, marketing materials to the seller, qualifying call, actual presentation, post-presentation, the whole enchilada. And we're going to role play work, do a video analysis. You guys are invited. It's a lot of fun.
I love that, dude.
It's very intense because it's not just me telling people actually trying different things. Because if you sit down in front of the seller, it's kind of too late to learn, I think. So
I agree. Where do we sign up? What's the link?
The link is goborino.com/live. Goborino.com/live. patreon.com/live. There's a little
How
video.
many people? You said only 20?
I'm taking 20 people because I want to work with everybody closely. And
Yeah, you want to do like a real hands-on workshop. And
it's really hands-on. It's very hands-on. And by the time we're done, people usually do about 12 to 15 presentations. So it's it's like a boot camp, really, listing.
So then you do the presentations live in front of the class?
Yes, yes. You do it
I
in
love
pairs,
that.
and we have cameras filming it, and we take pieces and we analyze what they do well, what needs to work on, and why certain things work and why certain things don't work. We look at a lot of stuff like eye contact, body language, breathing, posture, because that has a huge impact how you perceive when you present. And then we go, of course, through the actual presentation. Pricing, if people get stuck on pricing, if they get overpriced listings or sellers fight them on it, we can troubleshoot that. The problem is usually not the pricing segment of the presentation. It usually happens earlier, and we can work through that. But I give you what's called emotional decoupling. That's a process to get better priced listing, commissions, all that. Objections we handle, you're going to get 18 different objections, resolutions that you can use as part of your presentation. The idea is for you to walk out of the site with the signed contract. And my goal is for you to do 8 out of 10.
That's the closing is so hard for people, you know?
You know, the cool thing is I'm not a good salesman. I really am not. But if you do everything, not even right, just good enough, the closing is the easiest part.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think if we do enough of the process, it happens on its own.
Yeah.
All right. So May 20th, DC. The link one more time, Borino.
DC, May 20th, 21st, goborino.com/live. You're going to get my brand new presentation plus 2.0. You're going to get a book, a bunch of videos that come with it, instructions, how to set it up. You can use it on iPad. You can use it on a computer, how to deploy it, how it works. A lot of what we're going to go over is how people make decisions. Like, why is it when somebody says, Nick, I like you. We choose you over Susan. And people think, well, it's marketing or commission. No, it has way more to do with our neurobiology and how people process, how people like somebody, trust somebody. And we spend some time on that until we are ready to deploy it as part of your presentation. How do you?
Good stuff, man.
It's good.
And of course, you can see Borino at LCA Live on June 18th and 19th in San Diego, our big annual conference. And the link to that is in the post for this live video. Don't forget to get your early bird tickets for $3.99. They're going to go up.
And that's the hotel. That's the Some Like It Hot hotel, right?
Some Like It Hot.
Yeah, Hotel del Coronado. Yeah, good stuff.
Coronado, cool. Come join us, guys. That's going to be a good conference. Last year was off the hook, packed with him. People were telling me that it was like freaking water fire hose, like drinking from a fire hose. It was so much good stuff there. So
yep.
I'm excited. Come join us. It's going to be good.
Excited and great webinar as usual. Lots of good takeaways.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you joining us.
Great to have. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Borino.
Always chatted.
Have a good time, man.
See you soon, man.